So first things first here, gather up your lumber that you bought, measure it, and mark it. And after you mark it, you're gonna carry it over to your miter saw and cut it on those marks that you made. After that, put them through your planer. Make sure you take them outside and have like a great landscape behind you with lots of trees and vegetation. That's where you live. Run everything through the planer, get them flat. And then after that, use that sort of blade. That's a glue line ripping blade that Freud makes that I use for this project. Got me really, really tight joints on all these boards, and they glue together really well. This piece of lumber had a big split in it, or crack or whatever, and so I wanted to fill those. I made these splints that I could put in there, mark the splints. After I routed out most of the material, you could just make splints that fit inside the holes that the router makes. I don't know why I didn't do that. I think I just wanted bigger splints than the router bit sizes that I had. So anyway, chisel it out, get everything the right size. After you're done with that, fill the holes with glue, hammer them in, and then you're gonna get your pole saw out and cut off the tops so that everything's really smooth, and then sand it. I don't show videos of sanding because sanding is super boring and kind of useless information, so you didn't see me sand. Next step, you want to join all your boards together. And this is that process really sped up. I used the biscuit joiner. One thing to note, I always glue the boards together 2 at a time, and that way I can get 2 boards together. I can focus in on one seam, make sure it's as good as possible. And then ideally they still fit through the planer that I have, so I can run them through and get them all perfectly flat. And then there's more seams that are as good as they can be when I glue everything together. This little contraption, I made this out of plexiglass and angle aluminum. Attaches to the base of my router, and it allowed me to cut really long straight dovetails into the side of this table. The purpose of that is to add in, or I guess joint in sapele side rails to this to give some character to the table. In hindsight, I would skip this whole process and just glue the sapele to the side of the table rather than joining it in. That process was really kind of a mess, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, and it could have been better. So it would have come out better if I glued it. Don't dovetail it in. It's kind of overkill for this situation. Just glue it on. So this is me making the inverse of that dovetail, cutting it into the sapele so that I could join those pieces onto the side rails. And you can see the inverse is cut into that. And then I used a series of hammers to pound this thing in, and it was tedious, and that end piece of sapele that didn't work out. I had to cut that out. They didn't join together well at the miter, and so it was kind of a waste. It might have worked out if I glued it, whatever. Here, using router bits to clean up that side rail, I put a big 45-degree chamfer into the table to give it its character. And after this, I use the router to cut in the grooves where the base to this table would attach. That's me recessing the grooves so that the channel steel sinks into the table. The important part of this process is drill the holes for the bolts that attach the table base to the table through the steel into the wood. Make sure everything's attached. Everything, it makes the bolts and everything line up just perfect. Don't try to measure the holes and get it to line up. It doesn't work very well. So that's the table without any finish on it. Here's me finishing it and defying the laws of gravity. I'm using water locks on this table, and I think I'm probably done using water locks for projects. I like the color and the sheen of it, but the durability is pretty low, and so you end up with a lot of scratches pretty quick. But I like the colors, so I'll just probably add some polyurethane to top this to make it stronger. That's it. That's a finished hickory and sapele dining table. Thanks for watching this video if you made it this far. So get out there and make your own table.